Chapter 5, Episode 8. Sailors, Vitamins, and Passing the Test. Dear Mr. Farmer, a dove has arrived from the port of Marseilles. Adam, the acting lord, came to call on Pharma and the others who were chatting with the factory workers. Who could it be from? Hearing that it was from the sea, Pharma had a bad feeling for a moment. It could be a report that a ship had been caught in quarantine. The annual St. Fleuve market, held every year from August to September, attracts merchant vessels from all over the world, so Pharma had hired a first-class pharmacist this year to teach him how to inspect and quarantine the ships at the port. Admiral Jean of the St. Fleuve Royale of the East Indian Company is urgently needed. Please come to Dock No. 3 at the port of Marseille immediately. Admiral Jean is at Mr. Farmer. What is your emergency? Hey, are you going away? Lot and Blanche ask Pharma. I'm going to the port of Marseilles now. Or are you two coming? Yes, I'll go with you. Lot readily agrees. Pharma and the others immediately ride their horses to the port of Marseilles, where a large sailing warship protected by a frigate has just entered the harbor. Oh, you've come too, Pharma. Pierre, along with Bruno, happened to be in the harbor for a visit. Perrette had come to see the battleship. Bruno was being shown around by an executive of the East Indian Company. Oi! As the ship approached, a man's voice could be heard from the deck. Pharma also waved his hand. The scarlet flag of the East Indian Company's first-class battlecruiser dazzled in the clear sky. It is Admiral Jean's ship. Admiral Jean, who had bought a large quantity of sailor's candy, came down from the ship with his men. Admiral Jean first saw Bruno, the Lord of Marseilles, and greeted Bruno first. Bruno responded in kind. Thank you for your long voyage, Admiral, he said. I am grateful for the help of the noble lord's apprentice, the apothecary, on board. It seems that he took Bruno's apprentice with him on the ocean voyage. My apprentice would have benefited from his training. Your company's donations to the Marseilles and your cooperation in cracking down on pirates have always been a great help. Bruno worked on Jean. Hey, they let us use their port, so it's only natural. The East Indian Company seems to have worked out a compromise with Adam, the acting lord, to use the port of Marseille. I hope the crew and the ship's crew will rest well and recover from their long journey. Thank you. Admiral Jean saluted Bruno. After greeting Bruno, Admiral Jean walked up to Farmer. I'm sorry to have called you here, shopkeeper. I heard you were in Marseille territory. I am sorry to call on you, Mr. Farmer, but I heard you were in the Marseille territory. I was wondering why you hadn't come to the pharmacy recently. Farmer also missed him. I don't think I've seen Admiral Jean's face for 2 months. He's so cool, Mr. Taduku. Blanche, who had come with me, looked at Jean with a twinkle in her eye. It's Jean, you've met him before. Blanche had met him before, too. I don't know him. Blanche doesn't seem to realize that it is old man Jean, a regular customer at the pharmacy. Blanche looked at him differently as he approached in his formal admiral's attire. Navy blue jacket with a gold lace cuffs and collar, gold shoulder patches, and white innerwear. I have a weakness for bicorn hats and uniforms, girls. Farmer showed a certain understanding of Blanche's attributes. I just got back from a long trip and finished quarantine a while ago. Humans are land-dwelling creatures. We haven't seen you for a while. I have not seen you for a while. Have you been well? I'm not in very good shape, but I can't say the same. This year we had a poor harvest due to a major disease in the pepper-growing areas. And there is also a dispute over the existing colonies, so I have been exploring new lands by order of His Majesty's government. Exploring new routes. Farmer listened to Jean's story, amazed at his vitality. Bruno watched the exchange in silence, while Pierre took a step back when he heard that Admiral Jean was the one who would make even a crying child shut up. Law did not recognize the old man from a distance and hid in the shadows with trepidation. He was so afraid that he hid himself in the shadows. I don't want you to talk about it in the capital, but between you and me. Gene, the man of the sea, said proudly while fiddling with his beard. What a great discovery. It's a great achievement. Farmer was excited. If it were a continent instead of an island, it would be a great achievement on the level of the discovery of the American continent on Earth. Gene, however, only replied, well, maybe. And then he said, no. It's all thanks to you. The voyage itself was not without its difficulties. As we had to pass through the ship graveyard, a cursed sea area inhabited by evil spirits. And there were areas of the sea where the islands were completely hidden from view, but the biggest enemy of the voyage was the food situation. This time, however, the situation was drastically improved, and since no one died, we were able to venture farther afield. The navigators who had disembarked from the ship were shaking their heads behind Admiral Gene's back. What's a ship graveyard inhabited by evil spirits? Great. And since it's this world, I'm sure there really are evil spirits, not just metaphors. Pharma was shocked by another part of the story. The sailor's candy, rich in vitamins and minerals, is a revolutionary invention that neither spoils nor takes up space. I also added the chalky medicine you gave me to the barrel of water that contains the water produced by the art of divination, as instructed, and the water no longer spoils. I'll also put meat and fish in jars as you told me, and they didn't spoil on the voyage. After consulting with Gene, Pharma gave him some precautions for preserving food and water on distant voyages. He had also suggested that they hire a wind diviner to provide the sailing ship with a steady breeze to accelerate it, and a water diviner to supply it with fresh water. Gene put this into practice by drinking the whole bottle, and was pleased to find that he was now able to eat better quality food and sail faster than ever before. If the crew members were malnourished or fell ill one after another, the voyage would have to be aborted and the ship would have to return. Previously, the voyage could not last for many months because of spoilage of food and water. This is my nautical amulet. Admiral Gene began to chew on a piece of his favorite candy that he had taken out of his pocket with a great admiration. I owe it to the shopkeeper. This voyage was as comfortable as the one on land. As Admiral Gene praised, you are a great apothecary. The crew members also expressed their gratitude. They were the same sailors who had helped clean up the otherworldly pharmacy when it was attacked by Belen's minions, and Pharma recognized them. Pharma realized once again that a long voyage on a sailing ship is so deadly that such a small piece of advice could make a drastic difference. I'm glad to hear that, he said. If it has made the voyage a little safer. But there are a few sailors who are dying from strange diseases other than scurvy on long voyages, he said. Perhaps it was an evil spirit, but could you please take care of them? I understand. That's why you called me here. As the unloading operation began, 3 patients were brought in on stretchers. They had diarrhea that wouldn't stop, rough skin all over their bodies, drowsiness, and, in the worst case, hallucinations. When Pharma heard that the 3 patients had the same symptoms, he and Pally began a visual examination. The skin is very rough, she said. The skin is rough and ragged. The blisters are also very bad, and there is reddish-black pigmentation on the skin. Pharma turned up the sleeves of the patient's clothes. Interestingly, there is no inflammation in the areas hidden by the clothing. Only the sunken areas are inflamed, Pharma writes in the patient's chart. Falma writes in the patient's chart. Then is it photosensitivity? No, but that doesn't explain the other symptoms. Pear, who examined the symptoms in the same way as Pharma, said, Brother, take a good look. Brother, take a closer look. Pharma indicated the area where the rash had appeared. The redness is symmetrical. Then perhaps the symptom is a lack of it. The tongue was also reddish-brown and inflamed. Yes, that one. Pharma nodded. It's probably pellagra or niacin deficiency. Pharma told the patient about the diagnosis. There was no doubt in his mind's eye. What is it? Can it be cured? Old man Gene, who was listening to the conversation in the back, expressed his concern for the sailors, perhaps because the name of the disease was unfamiliar to him. Do you drink a lot of alcohol? Farmer inquired about the background of the patients. They are all heavy drinkers. Admiral Jean answered on behalf of the dazed sailors. In that case, he said, Falma explained that the disease is particularly prevalent in people who consume excessive amounts of alcohol. Alcohol is such a bad thing. I can't even drink a little rum. Old man Jean put his hand on his chest and grunted in pain. He had an idea that he had been drinking heavily. I wasn't talking to Admiral Jean. Oh, I see. You can never drink too much, eat too much, or eat too little. These people are considered niacin deficient. It is caused by exposure to the sun, in addition to chronic nutritional deficiencies from long journeys. Bruno listened to Pharma's explanation and kept notes. Something that isn't niacin. Jean twisted his head, his face dejected. Niacin is a member of the same vitamin family. Niacin was once called vitamin B3 when it was first discovered. The vitamins were previously named A, B, and C in the order of their discovery, but now that the structure of the compounds has been clarified, the name vitamin B3 is no longer officially used. However, now that the structure of the compounds has been clarified, the name vitamin B3 is no longer officially used. Currently, there are a total of 13 vitamins that have been discovered. Vitamin A, retinol, vitamin D, calciferol, vitamin E, tocopherol, vitamin K, phylloquinone, vitamin B1, thiamine, vitamin B2 riboflavin, vitamin B6 pyridoxine, vitamin B1-2 cyanobalamin, pantothenic acid, biotin, and folic acid, as well as vitamin C, ascorbic acid, and niacin, explains Pharma. I see. Another new vitamins have been missing. And there are 13 different kinds. It's not easy to get enough vitamins. And on a boat, you can't avoid the sun. Is there a cure? The cure is to take niacin, which is lacking. The other symptoms will gradually subside. Since 3 people seem to have the same symptoms, I will prescribe tablets for them. Pharma's diagnosis was not too late. He prescribed a large dose of nicotinamide, a dose of B vitamins taken orally, and a warning to cut back on alcohol, as there was concern that alcoholic liver damage was occurring at the same time. Oh, that's a relief. Nutrition is important. Admiral Jean's back straightened. He stretched out his back and, in the same moment, he had a sprained back and was being carried by his subordinates. To the hiccup and sprain combo, Pharma added a compress to the prescription. I'm in pain, he said. I've done it all the way back here. For sailors and travelers, I'll make a candy or pill containing various vitamins that are nutritionally essential to the human body, he said. Also, Admiral Jean will need calcium. Pharma promised to develop a supplement that combined vitamins and minerals with the Dong Yidong Company. Thank goodness. After the Great St. Flav Market, we will have to send a survey team to the new continent, and we need your help by then. I'll make sure we get there in time. In order to ensure that merchant ships can safely pass through the route, they will be asked by the Empire to guard the Imperial Gulf Coast until the end of the Great Market of St. Fluv. The East Idon Company also plays a role similar to that of the Imperial Navy. Hearing this, Pharma remembered something important. Oh, by the way, have there been any people living on the new continent? No, we haven't found any yet. There were plants that we had never seen before, but it was dangerous to explore the continent, so we landed on it for a few hours, did not touch anything, and came back once without haste. Admiral Jean's judgment was correct, Pharma exclaimed. What would you do if you found natives? If there are natives, trade, since invasion is forbidden by international treaty. If there were no inhabitants, he would plant an imperial flag, station pioneers, and turn the area into a settlement. Pharma was relieved that the invasion of the new lands was not going to happen, and then he warned the people to be very careful. He warned, please be very careful in your contacts with the natives, animals, and plants of the new continent. They may carry unknown diseases. By unknown, I mean diseases that you are not immune to. In the worst case, it could be a deadly disease. In the past, with the discovery of the Americas, smallpox, measles and mumps were brought to the Americas from Europe. Native Americans, in particular, had no immunity to smallpox, so the plague spread and many people died of the disease. Pharma quarantined the entire crew of the ship, but no one was found to be infected with any germs brought from the new continent. But still, a new continent. Dreams do come true. Pharma secretly hoped that corn, pumpkins, and tomatoes would be discovered. After returning to the capital, Pharma took time out from her pharmacy business to go to the Imperial Medical College with Ellen, who would start working in the same department in October to complete various procedures, preparations, management meetings, and committee meetings. The new research building of the Department of Pharmacy, where he will serve as the dean of the graduate school, has been completed, and a number of facilities and equipment related to the startup of the laboratory have been procured. He also hired a secretary and a research assistant from among many applicants. The textbooks he wrote were also sold in the university store and are becoming required textbooks from the beginning of the new semester. The St. Fleuve Imperial College of Pharmacy was reborn as the St. Fleuve Imperial College of Medicine, and its faculties were reorganized into the Faculty of Medicine, based on the former Sarlano Medical School. The Faculty of Pharmacy, which taught conventional pharmacology based on theology and medicinal herbs. The Faculty of General Medicine and Pharmacy, headed by Pharma, which handled new drugs, and the Faculty of Clinical Laboratory Medicine. I was getting ready to go home that day, and Ellen and I were walking around the university campus. I was walking with Ellen through the university campus when she said to me, "It's been a year since then. It's gone by so fast." Time flies, Pharma thought to himself. It has been 1 year since Pharma eradicated the Black Death and 1 year since he was asked to become a professor at the Imperial College of Medicine in St. Fleurbes. Yes, I have been preparing for this for quite some time now. We've been preparing for this for quite some time, but it's all a bit of a mess at the last minute, isn't it? Ellen is walking around with a huge pile of papers stuffed into her bag. It can't be helped, the research building was completed last month. So college finally starts next month, and I'm looking forward to meeting the students. She has not disliked being involved with students, whether it be lectures, discussions with students, research meetings, or teaching, ever since before Pharma's death when she was still in Yakutani. Encounters with excellent students also serve as a stimulus for his own research. It is a great honor for an instructor to see his students leave his laboratory and go on to work at the forefront of their field. Ellen, however, was nervous and seemed uneasy. "I don't know if I'll be able to give a good lecture, and I'm sure the students will be very talkative, so I'll just shy away." Ellen was unusually lacking in self-confidence. She said, "Don't worry. I'm not going to be eaten alive by the students." As the two of them strolled around, a crowd had gathered at the main entrance of the university. They seemed to be surrounded by a group of people who had posted a notice at the entrance of the university. "What's going on?" As Pharma approached to see what they were looking at, Ellen took his arm. "I just remembered. It's the day of the acceptance ceremony for the new students this afternoon. There are some students there that you, Pharma, will be mentoring. This year, the St. Fleuve Imperial College of Medicine, or the College of Medicine for short, had set aside a special tuition-free quota and invited new students from all over the Empire and beyond to apply for the 4 undergraduate faculties. The results of the entrance examinations were being announced. How many hundreds of people have come to see this? The results are announced using real names, and the examinees are checking to see if their names are on the bulletin board, crying and laughing. I remember the ratio this year was about 20 to 1, Pharma said, vaguely remembering. Pharma had a vague recollection. I remember it was 25.8 times. I haven't seen anything like this since I started college. I heard that many students dropped out of the Novartis University of Pharmacy and applied to the university. Wow, this university is very popular. Not this university, but your course is very popular, isn't it? Wondering what the students looked like, Pharma decided to keep an eye on them from a little distance. No matter how many times he looked for their names, the students fainted. Some students were so happy that they began to do little leaps of joy. Others came with their parents to see them, and so on. They were all saying, "Screw you. You're making fun of me. I suddenly heard an angry voice from among the crowd of examinees. I've come all the way to a university to learn pharmacology from a kid. It was a young man with an exotic accent. Apparently, there were some students from overseas who did not know that the professor was a child. Come to think of it, there is a bulletin board by the entrance that traditionally displays portraits of all the professors. So it seems that the student had just now identified Pharma's name and face. Apparently, listening to the stories of the successful students, there were more than a few students who knew Pharma only by name. Although Pharma's name became known on a global scale among pharmacy students, medical doctors, and pharmacologists, the only people who knew he was a child were the people of the imperial city who visited the otherworldly pharmacy. These students look so toothsome, I'm tearing up with joy, me. I don't know what's going to happen, Ellen lamented. I don't know what will happen, Ellen lamented. If you don't attend the lecture because of complaints, you will lose credits for your promotion, Ellen said. This is going to be a very turbulent time for us right from the start. Pharma laughed and gave a small sigh.